new addition to the studio. You can check out the picture on our Instagram, Sports Junkies Radio. Give us a follow there. We have an Ovi tracker in studio. Mm-hmm. What does it say, Cakes?
6 goals left to break
6
Wayne Gretzky's
goals
record.
to go.
Yep.
Hey, speaking of the Capitals and Ovi scoring, going to talk to our pal, Spencer Carbery, head coach of the Washington Capitals, presented by the Centers for Advanced Orthopedics. More physicians, more locations, more advanced care centered around one thing you. Visit CFAortho.com. What's up, Coach?
Morning, guys.
So we were talking
Coach.
about the memorabilia that the Capitals sent us. We have a nice Ovi tracker now.
It's very fancy.
Got our own
6 goals to go.
Yeah.
Cakes needs a couple of maybe hat tricks because he's got his game coming up that he's bought road tickets for.
I'm going to be now. Look, this is a very.
Might need you
Are
to
you asking for some extra shifts?
I mean, look, I'm not asking for anything out of the ordinary. Just Ovi to score, I don't know, 1 or 2 against Minnesota to keep him on pace. So when I'm in the building at UBS Arena Sunday, April 6th,
Right.
I could potentially witness history. It would be fun. Is that too big of an ask?
That's
Coach?
an extra shift or two.
Yeah,
No big deal. No big deal at all.
no
big
biggie,
deal.
right? I mean, it's
By the way, how do you even track that, Coach? Like, because I think you said gone on record, and saying that you're trying to maybe a shift or two less, to try to keep him fresh, et cetera. I mean, the guy is 39 years old, whatever he is.
Yes.
How do you even keep track of that to know where you are?
It's more of like an in-game, just see, monitoring his minutes, monitoring what he looks like that night, monitoring schedule. There's a lot of different stuff that goes into it. And then,
So do you have an active count? Like they said, hey, it's we're through one period. He's been out there for 7 minutes. Like, do you have like that specific of a number?
Real time data. I'm sure you get that.
yeah. So some of the time, so we have 2 separate iPads on the bench.
Okay.
One is film, which
Right.
you can go back through. The other one is stats. So it tracks like every little stat that you could think of: face-offs, time on ice. So I periodically will check that just to see where guys are at and just to monitor. Usually you have a feel for a guy's been out there quite a bit or not enough, but that can just confirm it for you on that iPad on the bench.
Right.
Coach, recently I heard a conversation about college basketball really and analytics and how you're seeing a lot more 3-pointers, but now teams are emphasizing offensive rebounds. And I'm wondering, I don't know, we've talked to you too much about hockey analytics. What are has there been a change over the last decade or so with analytics, a change in the way you approach coaching?
Oh, big time. It's heavily involved now, especially it's starting to become more prevalent with the coaches and preparation and pre-scouts, like on the coach level that's presented to the players. It's still pretty base level of what we share with the players, what terms we use, because there's a lot of stuff that they're like, this is a real basic one. It's called Corsi. But if you start throwing that around with the players, that they're not really sure what it is. They're like, what? Some guys know it, some guys don't. But what I'll tell you at the management level and how they evaluate players and make decisions based on trades, drafting players, it is a massive part of what teams are doing now. They have huge analytic teams that are sifting through numbers to sort of evaluate players, team stuff. So we have that on our sort of upstairs where we'll get reports and that stuff, but they work separately from us. But every team now has an analytics department.
So, Coach Carbs, Chicky gets paid 8 years, $72 million. He was a huge ad this offseason. He gets rewarded with a massive deal. And the funny detail coming out of it was, I guess that's what happens when the owner, Ted Leonsis, wears your jersey to a game. Then the next day, there's a phone call with Chicky's agent. And I guess Chychrun indicated that's kind of what got the ball rolling on getting the deal done so quickly. So talk about Chychrun. I saw some of your comments and quotes about him, that he's a guy that's not going to rest on his laurels now with the money. He works hard every single day. Talk about having Chicky in the fold now for multiple years.
Yeah, I really think that he's still so young, and I think he would agree, and he's said this to me, and I believe it, is he's got his best hockey is in front of him. Like, he has still such potential, and he's already a great elite defenseman in the NHL, but feels like he's just scratching the surface of what he's capable of doing in this league. And so that's exciting as a coach, someone that, is going to be in the organization for a long, long time and wants to continue to grow and wants to continue to get better. When you make a long-term commitment, you feel really, really comfortable with a guy like Chychrun. And he's had just a tremendous year. He's helped our team so much. And the funny part of that story, because I was talking to him yesterday about it, is the guys were giving him a hard time because Ted was wearing his jersey. So they thought that the guys just assumed like, oh, do you have something to share with us, Chychrun? And he's like, no, not at all.
Right.
And it was just total coincidence that, in the next day things start to heat up and that's sort of when the ball got rolling on the final legwork of his deal getting done. But it was just a total coincidence. But the guys that thought exactly what you just said, that there was like, whoa, what's going on here? Is Ted's wearing your jersey because you have something to announce to us?
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't even realize, Coach. So did he make his debut in the NHL in 2016?
Yep.
How old was he?
Yeah, in Arizona,
was he like
are you talking?
12?
Yeah,
I mean, how old was
he's
he?
a young dude.
Yeah, he played right away at a really young age. So, that's where you look at some defensemen, usually when they get these bigger contracts, they're a little bit older, like 28, 29, where Chychrun's still...
He's 26.
Right. Yeah.
For 4 more days, 5 more days.
Still in his prime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would argue just about to hit his prime where, a lot of the UFAs, usually they're around 28, 29 when they get that deal and they're, 35 by the end of it, where Chychrun feel like, he's got tons of runway and tons of great years left in his career, and he's going to be a big part of the organization for years to come.
Coach, I didn't watch the game last night. I took 3 melatonin pretty early, so I was knocked out. 12 milligram gummies, by the way. They're
That's
good.
big. You went hard.
But I was talking to a buddy who did. He said, you know what? That was a playoff atmosphere with the 2 best teams in the league last night. Your thoughts on the atmosphere in Winnipeg?
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. It was always a difficult place to play in Winnipeg. Loud, fans get into it. They're the way their team plays, and they make it real difficult on you, especially early in that hockey game or early in games when you play in Winnipeg. So it was. There wasn't a lot of real estate. There wasn't a lot of time and space. It was tight checking, competitive on every single puck battle. It felt like every possession was a big moment in the game, and I thought we handled it okay. I thought started a little bit slow, second got a little bit better, and then the third period it took us a little bit we were down 1 going into the third, and the start of the third wasn't great, but then we came on in the second half of the third and we were able to get that game tied up.
Coach, I saw Bevillier's comments a few days ago about getting indoctrinated into the pregame tunnel shenanigans here with the Capitals. What's your best guess on why he's been on so many teams already? 6 teams. Seems like a great kid. He's only been here for a little bit, but seems like he's assimilated pretty well.
Yeah, I think that was just a product of he was in Long Island for a long time, and a big part of their sort of core group of guys it was a really good team when Barry was there, and they were constantly pushing the envelope. Like I remember they took Tampa to 7 the year they won it. Like they were a really good team, went to the playoffs every year and went on a few good runs. And then the last few years, I think just because he's been on some shorter term deals, has gotten moved at the deadline. And so that, you end up playing on a couple teams each year because you get moved at the deadline because teams that are qualifying for the playoffs are in search of players that they think that they can help, which is an example of what happened this year for him. But he's been fantastic. I've liked his speed. I've liked what he's brought, tenacity on the puck. He gets in, he forechecks. So he's fit in with our group really well, and especially with our identity as a team and who he is as a person. Like guys, he's a good dude, and guys appreciate him in the locker room, and he's fit in nicely with our group.
Coach, earlier on the show, Cake said that you guys were coasting into the playoffs. So have a good coast. We'll talk to you next week.
11 games left.
Coasting, but yeah, we'll keep grinding.
Yep.
Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate
Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
You know how we were talking
Probably
about,
doesn't like the coasting term.
you know
that
how
much.
we were talking about that last segment?
Yeah.
How you kind of dominate the regular season and then you just have a lull in the postseason. Remember the Boston Bruins 2 years ago had 135 points.
Yep.
They had 65 wins in the regular season.
And the Panthers took them out in the
and
first
they
round.
lost in the first round.
I do remember.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying. So
I'm
when you say
terrified of the
coast into
playoffs.
the playoffs, I say, I hope that they're treating every game, even though they know they're going to be one seed, like a playoff game.
The one thing we've learned, having so many good Caps teams, I know we're going to break, is the gauntlet that the playoffs season is.
I know.
It's tough,
I mean,
man. It's brutal to get through.
It's brutal.
I mean, 8s can beat 1s.
Yep.
That was Coach Spencer Carbery, presented by the Centers for Advanced Orthopedics. More physicians, more locations, more advanced care centered around one thing you. Visit CFAortho.com. Coming up next, EB's commercial break film study of Shedeur Standers.